Hello, everybody. Leonard Henry speaking. I went to see 3 talking films the other night. The first depicted a parson giving an interview to a press reporter. Of all the tasks that fall upon the shoulders of the clergy, perhaps the most interesting is that of officiating at a wedding ceremony. I remember on one occasion. The second was a police court scene with PC 49 giving evidence. On September the 29th, I was called to a slaughterhouse, the inhabitants of which, a large pedigree bull, was reported to be extremely ferocious. Upon opening the door, the animal... The third was Horace Moxford, the famous maker of motor cars, speaking at his general meeting, and it was during this that the operator mixed up the films. This was the horrible result.
I will now quote a few hints from our booklet for the small car owner. In the event of a breakdown, never bring the car home on the watch chain. Having been thoroughly oiled,
The bride and bridegroom entered the church. The bride was radiant, which is not to be wondered at under the circumstances, while the bridegroom suddenly went mad and dashed down the high street. I discovers him in the market square, where he began to
blow his horn repeatedly to remove the dust and dead flies that so often collect inside. Having been jacked up and her bonnet replaced,
the bride advanced towards the altar amid a murmur of delighted surprise from the congregation. As the bridegroom came to meet her, the poor brute dashed into a plate glass window. There was a awful crash and all hearts stopped beating.
simply because their valves wanted regrinding. Having removed any scratches on her paint,
The bridegroom had the greatest difficulty in finding the ring. In spite of every assistance offered him, the poor animal could not be induced to leave the premises. He bellowed with fear, waved his tail in the air, and foamed at the mouth. At length, however, the ceremony was completed, and the bridegroom, to the great delight of all, promised to
treat her gently for the first 500 miles and not to let her do too much to the gallon. Also to see that her clutch was not too tight. This would save him pounds. If she began pinching or started knocking, he would only have himself to blame for filling her up with bad spirit. There is nothing to beat a well-designed clover-leaf body
with its hind legs right across the pavement, lashing out at everyone within reach. However, having been given the Medal of the Royal Humane Society, the bridegroom kissed the bride's mother, who immediately
burst with a loud report. Fitting a patch on the damaged face,
the bride smiled triumphantly. As the bridegroom turned to sign the register, he fell dead with a bullet in his brain, as I thought it only right to put the poor wretch out of his misery. And believe me, that is exactly what I wanted to do to that operator.